Hi, my name is Nicole Eichinger. I'm a registered dietitian, and today's episode, we're going to be talking nutrition 101 because I feel like over the years, social media has made nutrition super complicated, and it doesn't need to be like that. So I am going to help simplify nutrition for you and kind of go over nutrition 101, and then we're going to go over the anti-inflammatory diet. We're going to also go over how to properly portion out your plate and some of the pantry staple items or kitchen staple items that I have. So this is going to be a very inclusive episode for y'all. So if you are enjoying this, definitely make sure that you write a review. Let me know, because the more that you let me know, the better I am to be able to actually help out and provide you with some awesome material. So let's get started. We're going to be talking and touching base about carbohydrates. So carbohydrates have gotten such a bad rap, right? People say, oh, hey, I have to lose weight, or I am not seeing all the results. I must remove my carbs, right? I must start to decrease my carb intake. Well, let's go over what carbohydrates are and what they're beneficial for. So carbohydrates are our actual body's preferred fuel source. So when people say, oh, you can use ketones as your preferred source of energy, that's the body's backup mechanism. Ketones are the body's backup mechanism. So that is like if you were on a deserted island and your body is like trying to keep you alive, that's why we have it on board, right? That's why our body has that backup mechanism to it. It doesn't mean that that is our preferred route of energy. And so some people need 60% of their calories coming from carbohydrates. So what includes a carbohydrate, right? When I go on sessions with my clients, so many people think it's just my pasta and breads. Well, carbohydrates are going to be a wide variety of things. And to simplify it, you can just think of anything that came from this earth that was a plant is gonna give you some carbohydrates. So carbs, the reason why we want it to think of it as in the plant sense is that if we can find it in its most natural form, like a whole grain, like white rice versus brown rice, right? The brown rice is going to have a little bit more fiber to it. And so the reason why I mentioned the fiber along with this is that if you have carbs and you're just eating pastas and candies and everything, we're going to have really high spikes in our blood sugar. But if we get carbs that have those fibers attached to it, your body is going to have a more gentle increase and decrease in the blood sugar, instead of this big spike and drop. And you're like, but why does that matter to me? I'm not diabetic. Well, if you have inflammation, if you have abnormal hormones, or if you're trying to lose weight, you'll want your blood sugar stable. So carbohydrates are going to be included into, like, you can kind of put them into like the grains category. So you could have your whole grains. Even white rice works into this. And this could be grains like farro, quinoa, brown white rice, wild rice, even your oatmeal, right? All of that, even popcorn is considered a grain. All of that is super healthy for us, because those types of grains are going to actually attach to the bile in our body. So when we eat a source of fat, your body releases bile to help digest and absorb and utilize all of that. But if we can find some grains and include them frequently into our diet, that bile that gets released now has the opportunity, because that fiber that you ate in those grains, to attach itself to that bile to help remove it out of the body. And why is that important to remove that bile out of the body? Well, that's where our excess cholesterol is, and that's how our cholesterol gets out of our body, right? I don't want you to have heart disease later on in life. I want to be preventative. And then also think about excess estrogen for women that have like PCOS or just estrogen dominant. If we're not eating enough of these types of fibers that are found in our carbohydrates, then your body's going to have a reuptake of that estrogen, and you have a higher chance of having really bad periods and also abnormal thyroid function from that elevated estrogen. So carbohydrates are super helpful. So those are the grains that we're talking about. There's also carbohydrate rich vegetables. like your tuber vegetables or your root vegetables. So your carrots, your potatoes, your turnips, even your squashes are going to be a good source of carbohydrates. So that's any kind of squash, zucchini, it can be butternut squash, acorn squash, spaghetti squash. Although I'm not a fan of spaghetti squash. I'm not that's the wrong kind of texture for me. But it's what you prefer. And so that's where we're going to be. We're going to include some of these really, really rich sources of carbs into our diets. Then we don't have to do these every single meal with these veggies filled carbohydrate rich veggies. But if we can start to include them, what else are going to be attached to those foods? Your vitamins, minerals, and one of the best things out there that carbohydrates provide us, antioxidants. So the carbs aren't going to be the antioxidants, but the carb-rich foods are going to be where a lot of our antioxidants are found. So antioxidants are the colors of our foods. So they actually have a role with our plants. So when plants are growing, those antioxidants are their protective measures for themselves. That's like their immune system. And so the cool thing is that when we ingest that, we actually get those properties. And antioxidants are protect our cells from damage. They actually are reversing our cells to repair them, and can even prevent further damage from occurring. And antioxidants are known also for their anti-cancer properties too. So they are something that myself, I've had 2 cancer scares. One of them is pretty visual. And so I try as much as possible to search out and figure out how can I add in more colors into my meal? How can I do that? And that's something we're going to be talking just in a second, a little bit more in depth about how to properly portion out your meals so that way you can get the most out of your meals. Then there's other carb sources in fruit. So berries, right? Or oranges, bananas, all fruit are going to contain your carbs. And so what kinds of fruits are better than the others? And the answer is they all have their time and place. Same thing with vegetables, same thing with grains. They all have their time and place. We just have to figure out what are you wanting more? What's your goal with eating this? Are you eating it just because you enjoy it? Enjoy those fruits. Are you eating it because you want to feel better? That is a lot of times my route of doing this, because I have multiple health issues. If you are not aware, we'll just run down real quick so you can understand, like, okay, this is why she eats the way she does. I have a history of migraines. I've had them since I was in middle school. I have had a history of anxiety or massive panic attacks in the past. Thank goodness it is something like far behind me. I have Raynaud's phenomenon. I have PCOS and I have half a thyroid. So I'm hypothyroid, and I also have osteoarthritis and arthritis. So your girl has a lot of issues that could come up if I were to not include some of these foods into my day more frequently, because I know that when I eat them more frequently, they make me feel better. And so this is how I correlate the way I want to eat, or the way I do eat, with being successful, long term. Now, is that to say that I don't enjoy carbs like cookies? I do. I made some fresh chocolate chip cookies the other day, and we're including them into my day throughout the week, because all foods fit. But I'm not going to be eating cookies all day long. I'm going to be enjoying my foods that make me feel better. And then when I want those cookies or I want some chips, I'm going to slowly include them as I want them, and they're not going to be the star of the show, but they do have their time and place. And so those are our main sources of carbs, right? There's pastas too, there's breads, and they all had their place in everything, right? And someone here on TikTok is saying, I decided to do the Mediterranean. That is really what we're going to be talking about here in just a second, is that I encourage an anti-inflammatory diet that is very, very similar to the Mediterranean lifestyle. So that is exactly what we are talking about, is fresh food, right? We're not doing these highly processed foods, but we can include those pastas. We can include breads, but we're just going to do it in a way that all the other foods are the shining stars of the meal, right? So they're the ones that are going to make us feel better, and we still get to enjoy those foods. So let's go over protein. Then we're going to go over fat. Then we're going to go talk a little bit about how to, get this in a way that is helpful for us. And I'm going to, if y'all are watching this on YouTube, I'm going to be sharing my screen with y'all, so that way you can kind of visualize a little bit more of this. And if you are listening from some other place, I will leave the links so that way you guys can grab these handouts and also watch the YouTube video if you want. So protein, the thing with protein is that it is in most everyone's head, because they have to say, I have to have a source of protein at my meals. This is how I'm going to lose weight. This is how I'm going to gain my muscle. This is how I'm going, everything, right? Protein has definitely become the star of the meal. In reality, when I used to, quick story, when I used to wait tables in high school and in college, I for some reason gravitated towards barbecue most of the time, or like fried places. And the portion sizes for the meats were like bigger than the size of my head. And I'm not like over exaggerating. When they had like chicken fried steak, like the size of the plate, like it's no wonder that we're confused on what to eat, because at restaurants, when we go out to eat, they serve you this like steak that's like the size of your head, or just the portion sizes are just like asinine. They're ginormous. In reality, the palm of your hand is about the appropriate portion size of protein for you. And so the protein in our foods are actually mostly found in animal sources that most people get, right? So this can be chicken, beef, any kind of poultry, fish, there's pig, right? There's all sorts of different things that sources of protein, but there's also protein in our beans, legumes. There's protein in soy, right? So we can't just say, oh, I have to have meat or chicken or turkey at every meal. I really encourage you to get a source of a vegetarian option, basically, a couple of times a week. And we're doing this to actually help allow the body to not necessarily have rest from the meat, but to allow you to choose better quality meat options. And so you don't break the bank as well. So you can have these dried beans that are going to be super cheap that you can incorporate a couple times a week. And then I can also incorporate grass-fed beef and salmon a couple times a week. Get the high quality proteins that are also going to have that healthy fat attached to it. And then I still have space over here the rest of the week for cheaper protein sources that are just as healthy for us. So the reason why I said grass-fed beef is because that is one of the best options for thyroid warriors. And I specialize in thyroid health, and grass-fed beef hits so many check marks when it comes to thyroid health. It gives us iron, it gives us tyrosine, it gives us omega-3 fatty acid, and it also obviously gives us some zinc, and also the protein that our body's needing. So our protein is like the building blocks of our body. That is a lot of processes in our bodies need protein to actually synthesize, actually be made into something else. And so we do need protein, not just for muscle health, but for just normal processes in our body. And so I try to encourage my clients to get, a source of fatty fish. Most of them choose salmon, but fatty fish could be mackerel, it could be tuna, right? It could be salmon, it could be steelhead trout. So we can do a couple times a week getting on those fatty fish in there. And the reason why we want those fatty fish is for that healthy fat. That healthy fat reduces inflammation. It's our brain, at least 10% of our brain is made of that omega-3 fatty acid, those healthy fats. So we have to ingest that. The body loves a ratio of 4:1 when it comes omega-3 fatty acids to omega-6 fatty acids. Omega-6 fatty acids are going to found in like canola oil and a little bit in meat, some like nuts and seeds and stuff. So if we can have a variety of those healthy fats, that are associated with those protein, we're more than likely going to get that ratio that our body really, really enjoys and likes. So when we're looking at choosing a protein option, if we're going to be choosing like chickens, and just in general, let's just do animals in general. One of the things I really want you to start thinking about is the quality of life that they had, and not to be like, oh, I feel bad for them, but to think of, okay, if they are stuck side by side to another animal, what kind of fat are they going to be providing you? They're going to be providing you more of the saturated fat. They're more of the pro-inflammatory fats. We want more of that mono and unsaturated fatty acids, that polyunsaturated fatty acids. That's what our bodies need more of. Eating more of that saturated fat is going to have more of a higher risk for heart disease, and we don't want that. I don't want that for y'all. So if we can choose an animal that had the ability to graze around, move around, reduce the stress, it's going to have a better fat profile. So this is why I choose the grass-fed beef over just conventional beef, because it is recognized by the American Heart Association as a healthy option. And that's because the body of that cow had the ability to roam around and to be healthier. And therefore, when I ingest it, I'm going to get some of those healthier fats as well. And that's same thing goes for chickens. That same thing goes for any animal. If a fish does not have the ability to move and it's basically stuck over there, it's not going to have the amount of omega-3 fatty acids if it was, wild caught versus farm raised. So there is a little bit of a discrepancy in the types of healthy fats that are in our proteins. However, do what is like sustainable for you as far as cost wise. If that's like out of the budget, then don't stress about it. You can add healthy fat options in other places to kind of balance things out. So flaxseed is decently cheap, pumpkin seeds, stuff like that. You can add in to enhance that meal without it actually, without it having issues. So now we're going into that fat. And someone asked a question on TikTok that I said I wasn't going to answer it, but I'm going to answer it. It says, curious, hasn't the correlation between saturated fat and heart disease been debunked? Nope. There have been correlations between like eggs increasing cholesterol. That's been debunked. But no, there is increase in saturated fat can lead to increased risk of heart disease, just like too much blood sugar and too much refined sugar also increases that risk. So there's multiple factors with that. So we can't just say eating beef is going to cause you to have increased risk of heart disease. That's not it. It's a increase of more of the saturated fats, lack of fiber, and lack of or more of a sedentary lifestyle, right? So there is multiple things that are going to be playing into that. So maybe that's where it is just saying that like beef alone, no, it's not going to. But when it's if we can improve it, right? So we can improve it there. So let's talk about fat, and then we're going to talk next about the portion sizes, and then we're going to go into those anti-inflammatory foods. So fat is going to be one of the most overlooked things that I notice with my clients is carbs are the first. And then fat are always left behind. And the reason why is because fats contain a lot of calories, right? They're the most calorically dense foods out there. And so it's scary for so many people to actually consume those fats. And because it's drilled into their head, if I want to lose weight, if I want to be healthier, I have to lose weight, or I have to reduce my calories, and I can't kind of eat all of that. And I was one of those people too, where I was a college athlete, right? I've never once in my life considered myself fat, overweight, until my soccer coach in college said that the reason why we were losing our games was because we were too overweight. We were too fat. And so I had to, on top of my 2-a-day practices, I had to burn an extra 500 calories 3 times a week. That doesn't even equate to a pound. 3,500 calories equals a pound. But but he was a horrible coach. But anyways, needless to say, I went through a little spout of like disordered eating, where everyone in the house who was playing soccer, definitely, we did not do really well with that, right? We're like, oh my gosh, I shouldn't be eating this. How dare I eat that? In reality, I was never overweight. I had massive muscle mass to me. And just because my BMI was at a higher rate, if they would have done a body fat percentage, they would have noticed that, like, hey, I wasn't that big of an issue. In reality, it was my soccer coach. He ended up getting fired, but like, it was, like little things like that mess with our mind. So that was just my experience at one point in the day, or in my life. That doesn't like most, and like I said, I've never really considered myself a struggle with my weight. I have had that luxury, and I guess my entire life. And that's something that I will never understand. But what I can come into helping you guys out is seeing what I see on this end of being a dietitian to someone who is struggling. And it's a lot of what's on social media right now with, you have to, like, what I eat in the day, right? You see all these people and what they eat in the day, and you're like, that's like nothing. Like, no wonder you're not like, you weigh nothing. Or you see these people who are naturally thin, like myself, right? And you're like, well, you can do all these things, and this is how I eat. And you're like, but you're naturally thin. Like, that's not fair, right? And so it just, people are like skew everyone else's like what healthy should be. And the reality is, like, you're like, I'm never going to look like my best friend. She's never going to look like me. And I don't want to look like her. I love the way she looks, but I love also the way I look too, right? Same thing. We have to learn to accept our health, our body at where we're at, even if we want to lose weight, even if we want to go down that route. But it's so hard to, when everyone's always focused on calories and macros and blah, 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 blah. So this is why I'm really wanting to educate and say, like, hey, carbs are our friends. They give us fiber. They help provide us our fuel, right? Fat, if you guys are stressed, if you guys have hormonal issues, fat is where it's at. Like, we want to incorporate more fat into your diet, because those healthy fats are, like, exactly like I said, they are a big tool in our hormone regulation. They are a big tool in our inflammation regulation. And so if we're constantly removing them because they are just more calorically dense, we're going to stay in the state of stress and anxiety, and we're not going to have the tools that it provides us. Most fat out there, like from our nuts, seeds, and avocados specifically, if we can include nuts, seeds, avocado more often, we're not only going to get more omega-3 fatty acids to help out with our stress and anxiety and our hormones, but we're also going to get more fiber to help out with our digestion. And as we all know, and if you don't know, our digestion is tightly tied to our mindset, our brain. And so your gut's hearing what your mind is thinking, and vice versa. If you have an unhealthy gut, you're going to have more anxiety, more stress in your life. And so something as simple as adding more nuts, seeds, and avocado to your day, you're going to reduce the ability of your body to have that like inflammatory response, because you're giving it omega-3 fatty acids. You're going to help it by providing the tools to make its hormones to help with those stabilizing out. You're going to give more fiber to your gut bacteria for them to then fuel your body with when the little healthy gut bacteria, they eat the fiber and the foods that we eat. It's fuel for our gut wall. So in return, they start repairing our gut wall. Then it's going to help out with our hormones and inflammation. And it's just this nice little cycle that we all just kind of keep on just by eating those nuts and seeds and avocado. And then those nuts and seeds, avocado, also provide us with magnesium, which has been known to be a big tool in reducing our stress. So it's just those three things that are jam-packed with those healthy fats. If we were to remove them and say, hey, I can't have those calories, imagine what would happen if you did, right? And that's what I hear over and over again in my practice, that people start to feel better, start to see the results when they start including these foods more often. So I wanted to share. This is going to be something that if you are on YouTube, you get to watch this. Anywhere else, I'm sorry. But actually, let's do let's do this little number here. So I don't know if you guys can see where I'm at here. But this is the portion sizes matter handout that I have made. So basically what I see a lot of times is that half the plate is typically this protein, right? A lot of times people are just eating this chicken like that large, and then you're only having a little bit of carbs and a little bit of veggies. But what if you switched it around and had a quarter of your plate be protein, a quarter of it's carbs, and half your plate protein? So this is where you can start to use then your hands as your guidelines. So basically the palm of our hand is going to be our protein. A fist is going to be minimum veggies. And I say minimum because I want you to go above and beyond on your veggies at all times. Half a cup is about a cup of your hand, and then you get a thumb's worth of that healthy fat. Okay. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to learn, okay, so now we know how to set up my plate, right? I'm gonna have half my plate veggies. I'm gonna have a quarter of it protein, a quarter of it carbs, and about a thumbs of healthy fat. Now I'm gonna share the screen so that way you can start to incorporate these anti-inflammatory foods into your day more often. So this is a handout that I have made. And if you want a copy of this, this is actually the free thing that I have on my website. So you can print this off and start incorporating this into your day. So I have everything here for an anti-inflammatory lifestyle, right? So if you want to have less inflammation, if you want to have more energy, lose weight, whatever it is, I feel like most people can follow these guidelines, and then we add to it or enhance by meeting your nutrient demands based on your health issues. So this is kind of like most people can incorporate these foods. Obviously, see your dietitian doctor before starting a new regimen. Just kind of have to put that out there. But here, I'm going to go through these really fast. But air chilled chicken, and we're doing the air chilled chicken because it's not dipped in the vat of water. So that way, when you actually cook your chicken up, it doesn't shrink to like nothing. The air chilled chicken is exactly what it sounds like. It's chilled in the air. Grass-fed beef, we're going to do wild caught fish as often as we can. That includes salmon, trout, cod, tuna, tilapia. My top two that I eat every week are salmon and tuna. And I do the tuna just because I can get it in the cans, and I do that for lunch, and it's easy, simple. We talked about pasture raised eggs and the ability of an animal to actually like wander around, right? Instead of, well, look at that. I've had this misspelled the entire time. Antibiotics right there. Then we kind of over here and we have our list of fats. So avocado oil, olive oil, and I say coconut oil. I do the coconut oil only for baking. It doesn't provide us with any really healthy fats. It's just an easier way to cook with. I use avocado oil when I'm cooking with higher heat temperatures, and olive oil underneath 375 or less. Grass-fed butter, unsalted nuts and seeds. I do a lot of salted, and I say the unsalted just so that we can add salt to our meals as needed. But I've learned what my body needs. So I always recommend unsalted, and then we can discuss the amount of salt that you're able to have. Avocado and hummus. So when it comes to veggies, we come over here, we have green leafy veggies, spinach, kale, collard, Swiss chard, bok choy, right? Green bell peppers, broccoli. All of these are going to contain chlorophyll. Chlorophyll is an antioxidant. It is what gives the color it's green. Tomatoes, red bell peppers. You get onions and garlic. Ooh, if you guys have any immune issues or anything, eat more onions and garlic. The allium in the onion and garlic are like amazing. And then just kind of going down, and you can see why I did different colors, right? This is not include, like, add carrots into here, add any veggies. All veggies are anti-inflammatory. Don't do that. Like, I can't have nightshades. I can't do this. Everyone is different and it's going to react differently. So don't knock something unless you know that your body does not tolerate it. Then we're going over here to the fruit. I have berries and cherries at the top because they are the most potent antioxidants. So this is why they are more anti-inflammatory, because they have more antioxidants in them. So I lump cherries in with the berries because even though they're a stone fruit, they have tons and tons of antioxidants in them. Then we think about oranges and grapefruit, right? Tons of vitamin C in there, and pineapple. Pineapple is fantastic if you have digestive issues, because it has bromelain in it. So it'll automatically start, helping your body break down the protein that you're eating. Oatmeal, quinoa, freekeh, amaranth, black rice, buckwheat, bulgur. Obviously, if you have a wheat allergy, we're not going to do that. Do any actually, all of that I have right here are gluten-free. So maybe that's why I did that, just to have it. But honestly, if you are okay with tolerating wheat and rye, go for it. And then one of the things that we always forget are the spices and herbs even. So I could even add another tab on here for herbs, but all of this are going to be a great way for us to start to, just including some of these things into our days more often. We're going to start seeing a better results with things. So that's where we're going to be going in. Okay, I'm going to start now. I understand I need a variety of half my plate veggies. I'll have a quarter of my plate protein, a quarter of that carbohydrates, and a thumb's worth of healthy fat. Now let's talk about how to, what are the staple items that we keep on. I personally keep on hand in my pantry. And it's a lot of what you saw on there, but some of the items that I always keep on hand, so I can either have a quick and easy breakfast or a quick and easy lunch. So let's talk about the quick and easy breakfast. Some of the things I always have: oatmeal. Big tub of oatmeal. We're going to grab a big tub of oatmeal so that way I can add some protein powder to it. So I typically have some sort of protein powder on hand. This is not sponsored, but we like Drink or Gain. It is a pea-based protein, and it seems the kids enjoy it. I enjoy the flavor of it, and they have some that had added little veggies into it, or added other nutrition into it. I don't count those added as a serving of veggies. I just think of it, it's just a little bit extra bonus, right? It's just an extra bonus, like a vitamin. It's not going to replace my vegetable or fruit intake. So I have my oatmeal that I always keep on hand. I always have nuts, and I always have seeds, and I have a variety of nuts and seeds, and I keep them in jars so that way we can visualize them. And I try to put as many in jars as possible, partly for thyroid health and hormone health, but partly for the sheer fact that if we can see it in our kitchen, we're going to more than likely eat it, right? If it's hidden in a container that I can't see through, it's not yes, even if it has a label on it, it's just the way my brain works. And so I've learned over the years that if I can keep it in a jar, it's more than likely going to get eaten by myself or my kids or my husband, right? So you just have to figure out what works for you. So nuts and seeds are always a must. I keep my flaxseed in the refrigerator, but everything else I do keep in the pantry. Legumes and beans are something I always keep on hand as well, because I can then take the grains that I always have. Either right now we have brown rice, white rice, we have farro, we have quinoa. So tonight for dinner, I could do a veggie bowl where I cook up one of those grains, then I cook up one of the beans that I have, and then all I have to do is just put my veggies on a sheet pan, drizzle it with a little avocado, put it in the oven for 425 degrees, 450 for maybe 20 minutes, depending on the wellness, the amount of doneness. I don't know how done you like it, how crispy and charred and whatever you like it. And then I just add a little bit of salt and pepper to it. Sometimes some garlic powder. Sometimes I add fresh onions and fresh garlic. So that way everything gets the flavors of it while it's roasting, and then totally eat the garlic and and ward off any vampires, but it's so good. But seriously, doing that is so simple. And then all I have to think about is sometimes we can either leave it like that and it be vegetarian, or we can add another source of protein. Sometimes I'll cook up some salmon. Sometimes I cook up some chicken or some beef. I think tonight I have some tempeh, and I looked at this earlier. That's the only reason why I remember this. It had 18 grams of protein per serving. So my husband, who is working out and really wanting to gain muscle, that's going to be an appropriate source of protein for him because it's a rich source. So we're going to do the tempeh and some legumes, either lentils or I have some pinto beans that I could probably cook up and add into that with those veggies. Sometimes I like to keep some of my veggies raw for that little juxtaposition of the crunchiness to the cooked, right? That little change in flavor. So not everything's mushy. And then we just think about a source of healthy fat now. So I could either get avocado added onto top, I could add some olives on top, or I can make a dressing out of olive oil, which is probably what I'll do with a little bit of lemon, some olive oil, a little bit of honey, some paprika, and some garlic, and I shake it up. And that's an easy, simple drizzle of lots of flavors. I can get lots of colors in, and that meal can be ready in 20 minutes. Fast and easy, right? Maybe 25 minutes chopping up the veggies beforehand. But simple, all we have to do, bring it back into simple, bring it back to that, the plate method. Again, remember where we had half of our plate is going to be veggies, a quarter of it's going to be protein, a quarter of it's carbs, and that thumb's worth of healthy fat. So if we can do that more often and think about that, you're going to have a better chance at being successful. So this also includes if you make a smoothie or a shake, whatever you want to call it, treat it like a meal. Stop putting just fruit into it. Same thing with your yogurts and your oatmeal. Add a protein, add a fat, add some color to it. It's the biggest thing that I see is just people not enhancing enough, not adding enough tools to their diet. And that's really where we start to be successful, because a lot of times our body's like, hey, I'm not receiving what I need. Let me slow down a little bit, conserve that energy, right? Versus, hey, I'm receiving what I need. I can get rid of the waste because my body's more efficient at it. So that's the one we want. We want that latter. So if y'all enjoyed this, like I said, we were just talking nutrition 101 today. Next week, we're going to be talking more on thyroid health and how to build from this anti-inflammatory diet to build upon to actually help out with our thyroid health and to have healthy thyroid hormones, whether you have a full thyroid, a half a thyroid like me, or no thyroid at all that relies on medication, or if you aren't on medication. My goal, and I want to clarify, someone the other day was arguing with me that I'm promoting you to get on off thyroid medicine. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that my tools are going to be helpful for you if you are on thyroid medication, or if you are not on thyroid medication. These tools are going to be super helpful. And I'll explain more next week as we go dive into that. So again, if you guys enjoyed this, share it, subscribe, do all the things so that way you can get more of this and start to really feel better, see the changes that you want to see in yourself, and to do it in a way that's sustainable long-term. So you'll have a fantastic day, and I will see y'all next week.